And we are live with Lucas Aguirre. And actually, how do you say your name again? It's like Lucas Aguirre?
Yeah. I noticed some of the parts, like last tweet made by Art Mûr, it was again Aguirre, because with the Q, I'm with a G, so
G,
it's
yeah.
Aguirre, Aguirre,
Aguirre.
is Aguirre. It's
Aguirre,
difficult.
Aguirre, Aguirre.
Now let's practice the R. Yeah,
Arre.
yeah, Aguirre,
Aguirre.
Aguirre. Well, you
Aguirre.
do a more, yeah, you do a more French. It's like an R without the G. It's
Aguirre.
Aguirre.
Aguirre. Aguirre.
Aguirre. No,
Aguirre.
not you, not you. Aguirre.
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 Okay, I'll give this to Real so he can practice.
Perfect, man.
um, Well, thanks for joining me this morning. We're about to open the show. It's 9:35 here in Montreal. We're opening at noon, and I reached out. We've talked for many months now, maybe years. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you've told me in multiple interviews how you feel about the art and what you think about certain pieces and your general philosophy. And I've absorbed it. I do have a terrible memory, so I would just thought we'd have a little call before the show because I know today I'm going to be explaining your artwork probably like 150 times. Um, and also the gallery people are going to hear me, so Noemi and Real and Mike, and they're going to be explaining your art probably 2,500 times in the upcoming weeks, if not more. So I wanted to really not make stuff up as least as possible. Not just be my reaction and what I think, but be the
Yeah.
closest to what really comes from your heart, etc.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
with that, is there a way that you want to introduce the show, or is there anything you want us to know in particular? So, just for context, what we're doing today, there's three giant prints, extremely large, from Lucas Aguirre, and and there's a VR experience, and you're also going to be publishing some NFTs to accompany those pieces, as basically your VR artist who's gone into the NFT route.
Yes. And the video piece.
Right, correct. There is a video piece which wasn't playing yesterday during setup, but it'll be playing today.
Good. It's good to know. Um, well, yes, this has been a long process, because you contact me in Facebook VR groups, nerdy groups of people doing sculpture with headsets with VR, like Samuel. That you are one of the first for me. I think you are one of the first doing that nerdy stuff very deeply, at least from what I know. Um, I started doing that like in 2017, and I think you contacted me like the next year, 2018, I think, and you say to me, well, there is a possibility of a group show. Then it became a solo show, and then became the pandemic. No, if I don't recall, so we get a halt. During that halt time, I get to know crypto art, and it literally saved me in the middle of a jobless pandemic, because I was doing a VR job, very good VR job, like art in VR, but it halted abruptly. So I was like jobless, and I was wondering, okay, should I go back to give classes or to do freelance work? And then I get to get to know crypto art, and like started combining the things I was doing since 2017. In 2017, I get a grant on art and technology, together with two friends. And thanks to that grant, we we are able to buy a good computer, some headsets, VR headsets, and I started like working with that, and I was like mind blown, because of the possibilities of using the body as a tool of expression in the digital that are completely different, at least for me, that I am not a very technical person, from using ZBrush or 3D Studio or whatever other 3D softwares are existing, because that is like, I don't know, for me, it feels like office work compared to working large in front of a canvas, no? Painting. I studied visual arts, no? I studied since I was 17 years old. I did my art student thing for 4 years. I didn't get a degree. I switched out of the faculty and started like working freelance and teaching as a way of living. I from 17 to what? To 25 I was studying. Then from 25 to 30 something I was like doing a lot of freelance. That gave me the first approaches to digital art. No, I like I get to understand the tablet, the combination of the what I was doing by hand and scanning it and working that was like 2004, 2004 or 3 was my first time doing digital art, and that was my first mind blown, because Control C, no, I cannot, I can go back, and it made me fearless in a way, no, because doing a big painting, you ruin it. It's a lot of money in the materials, the canvas, or you have to make it to let it dry. I am saying this because I saw a video of Alberto Mielgo, the guy who did the Spider-Verse art direction, and he was saying digital made me fearless, and it was amazing. Yeah, because Control C is a power, no? It's a power. So I began like freelancing, and in my like at 32 or something, I began to feel, this freelancing work is killing me, because I'm like working a lot of time. I developed carpal tunnel syndrome, and my back was hurting me, so I get to get a good chair and learn to do yoga and learn to meditate, because I was like stressing the fuck out. It was like a transformative period in my 30s, and then I switched back to art, because I was like out of the faculty, no, the university, and then switch full to freelance. And then in my 30s, I was like, no man, I get to get back to that, because freelancing is not working for me. It's not fulfilling me, no. So I had to restart connecting, doing residencies, art clinics, like working with artists in their spaces of work, and I began like a 8-year auto way of learning, relearning, and reconnecting with what I was doing in the art school, and even go deeper, because, for example, I started like a one-to-one clinic with a very talented artist photographer called Anglais, and we did it after I did like 2 years of art clinic with one group that was awesome, but I wanted to go deeper, and with her, like I really had to insist her to take me as an alum, because she was looking at me as an illustrator, and I was saying no, I want to, and then I started like 2 years. For me, that was the main formative years for me to understand the difference between like illustrating a concept and painting a personal thing that is connected with a core of different aspects of oneself that can be fear, love, I don't know, a lot of interests, but the things that makes you say, oh, that's me, when you do things. That happened to me, but not all the time. Like I was doing things from my core from time to time, and then things for my brain using the analytical way of doing illustration that I was learning since a lot of years because it was my job. So in the middle of that, like when I started doing that, the first thing she said to me was, okay, bring me work in 2 weeks, because we did like one encounter each 2 weeks for 2 years. But the first time she said to me after we meet in physically, I give it to her like 100, a pile of different drawings, different paintings, showing the computer, and it was like, okay, no more. Next time we gonna do a meeting, and you give me some new work, but don't paint and don't draw. And I was like, oh, I can no, you cannot. Okay, so I was like 2 weeks. I was like completely lost, and I started like doing video, doing stuff with clay, and basically feeling the most lost I feel in my whole life artistically for a year or so. And it was like 2014, I think. It was like the worst moments for me. Like, for example, I draw since I was 3 years old, no? It's like part of me. It's like when I was 3 years old, I remember drawing, and my parents say, oh, I like that, and for me it was like a power. They liked that. So painting, drawing, first drawing, and then in art university, painting was like main part of me. So when she asked that to me, it was like, wow, man, I kind of get lost in a kind of depressive state where I could not find myself. If I try to write, to draw, I only did like these ink blobs, or like my brain was that everything I did like with sculpture, it was good. With video, it was okay, but no, I could not connect. And I don't know when, but in some moment I started doing some stuff with ZBrush, and I like it. Some of those, like an arm and combining a lot of arms and forming like this figure, no? And I started like when I like, well, now it's like 10 years ago. I started like a journal, where every creative idea I get, I write it, no? So in that moment when I did that arm thing, like a lot of arms together forming a figure, I say to myself, oh man, this idea is coming from somewhere. And I began reading that journal, and I noticed that it was an idea I had like 2 years ago or 3 years ago that I completely forgot. Like these masses of figurative elements that make an abstract shape that I was like watching from above because it was big and it was like going in the middle of some clouds or something. I write about it. It was a inspiration, and after that I forgot completely about that. But as I seen it written, I say, oh, that's something. And in that same moment, I found in the house of a friend a 3D printed object. a Batman bust that some friend of him has given to him. And when I looked at that object, I was like, my mind again, mind blown, because I was looking at that object that combined the perfect nature of computers, no, and industrial composition of objects. I am doing the movement of the 3D printing that is very precise and like builds this object in layers. But that object was gifted to him because it was an error. So it was a Batman, a perfect Batman half, and like melted Batman in the other. Some holes were in the body, and I can see through him through those holes. And it was like, wow, man, what is this? Because it's like technical and precise at the same time. There is these errors and these accidents happen. It was pretty unique. It looked like an like artisan stuff mixed with industrial stuff, and it was, oh man. And that day, sitting in the house of my friend, I understood that I had to start a path in that technical technical aspect of creation. And I was like, man, what I need to learn to make these things. And yeah, that was the case, because between 2015 that I was able to buy a 3D printer, and now, or maybe last year, I was like continually learning first 3D, learning a lot more of ZBrush, because I did tiny stuff just for reference, but I learned to 3D print. And I started with this woman that I was doing the art clinic with. I started like showing her these works, and she said, here is something that I did, like, let me show you something.
You heard it here first, folks. We're going to get an exclusive look at this piece of art.
Yes, this thing, I never show it. After a particularly inspiring session with that woman, that was very powerful, because in the previous residences I did, it was like group residences that where you learn to communicate your what you are doing, and you get responses from different people and also from the teacher. But it's always a lot of people, a lot of talking, a lot of brainstorming. It was amazing. But with this woman, sometimes I got like 5 minutes, real 5 minutes of silence, like thinking about what she was, the bomb she just dropped on my brain, because she was merciless. She was like, look, Ananke, I did this. I think this is talking about this and this and this. And she said, no. This looks like some kid playing. And I understand it's funny for you, but I'm not feeling anything of that. And I was like, heartbroken again and again. But so from time to time, I connect with deeper stuff. And I don't remember exactly what I did, what we were talking with her. I have a journal of that, because we did a blog, so I can check it, recheck it. But after one of those encounters with her, I did like this little clay sculpture of 2 figures, 2 men, like hugging each other and like being, I don't know, atravesadas. I don't know how to say it in English.
Traversed, impaled.
Transversed by this thing. Huh? And I didn't know why I did that. But it was like about forgiveness, about masculinity, about pain. It's a lot of different things. For me, it's not like, oh, I can speak truly what I wanted to do with that. It doesn't have a story. It doesn't convey something. It doesn't narrate something, but it's like a crystallization of myself in that moment, no? And this got the basic elements that I'm still using. The spear as a line, as an object that is a weapon, but is also an object, a simple object that is a line, and the bodies. And I started like, okay, combining these low poly arms that holding the spear, and I started to repeat it, to repeat them and to make an object. And Ananke understood, oh, there is something about you in these pieces. And after I showed to her, like in other weeks, I showed to her different objects made of with this metal, and she said to me once, "Hey, do you ever thought maybe of making it into a painting?" And I was like, "What?" It was the first time in almost 2 years, 1 year and a half, that she actually gave me an advice. She was always asking something and destroying my stuff, but never like in the beginning it was like no drawing, and now it's like, okay, why don't you paint? And I was, why? I don't know, maybe the translation between the objects and the painting can give you some and I say, okay, I will try. And I always try to do, I always tend to do, like you said in the text for this exhibition, I tend to go all in. So I started like, no minimal drawing. No, I started with a huge ass canvas, like I was painting like 6 months, painstakingly these arms, and like learning to to translate what I was saying, looking at in the digital to this thing, because I knew that I gonna learn a lot by doing that. It's like a monk work, like this Tibetan monk of, okay, carve this wood with the sutra of the diamond. Okay, I paint. So I started doing that, and it was amazing. It was very difficult, but at the same time, I understood, man, history is going fast, because it was like 2016, this thing, and it was like the start of the GPUs getting stronger. No, like a lot of new games and new stuff, and next year was for me virtual reality. So I felt like, man, history is going fast, and I'm here painting for 6 months, this thing to do one painting. What will Dali do? That Dali was a very hate-love relationship figure for me, because he's an asshole in a lot of stuff, but he is a genius in other aspects. No? So what will Dali be doing in these times? And I say, oh man, he will be doing 3D, of course. If his paintings looked like Photoshop even before Photoshop, no? So of course he will be doing that, and he will be doing installation, because it's the new main language for exhibitions. And it was like, so this 3D print stuff, like I was like working with, I started like doing for an exhibition. We did like this residency with other artists, where we inhabited an old artist house, and we like been doing like this painting and collage stuff in the wood, in the walls, I mean. And I was like putting there in the wall, I was putting like 3D printed objects, like the half of a face, very badly printed, because I printed, like, for example, I started printed, and then I don't know how to say it, I interfere in the printing process, like with a stick. I started, and so they were like, like they were like melting, or a lot of stuff. For example, after printing, I burn them, and they melt. And after that, I did collage over the top of them, because I started for the first time to get to understand that I wanted to do 2D drawings to be 3D. So I started like painting this stuff in wood paper, and then like abstract blobs and stuff that anyway was the only thing I was able to paint in that moment. But I was like, I cannot do figurative stuff anymore. I don't know why, but I was like painting these blobs of ink, acrylic, oil, and then I collaged them over the figures. So I was like doing the same that I'm doing now, 3D texturing of objects, 3D objects with 2D information. No, so we were doing like this installation of different stuff, and it was amazing. But when in the middle of that process, we get this grant. And for the first time, I was able to get a good computer, because when I ended my freelance work, mostly for like 80-90% of my freelance work, I switch it. I never work again for ad agencies or something. No more of that. I only do like little freelance work that I love, and I teach. So I began to live like very scarcely, with the minimum amount of money. And me and my girlfriend were living together, and say, okay, we eat rice, we live with the minimum. So I didn't have a good computer. In fact, in that time, I still had that computer with the CRT monitors, that old Soviet-like monitors, that are very good quality, but big and bulky and hot. And my computer was very low, and then I didn't have money to buy a good computer or a VR headset. But this grant, that for me it was like a miracle. It was like, oh man, we get this grant because I have a friend that is a friend for me, like when we were kids, that he's a true nerd of VR stuff. He had a Power Glove in the 90s, no? And he, yeah, man. He had and he programmed this 320 by 200 resolution VR experiences that you were able to put the headset on, and like for 5 minutes you were in this Wolfenstein Doom 1 kind of VR stuff, and after 5 minutes you have to put it out, and
your eyes are bleeding.
Yes, man, you had the worst headache ever. Well, he was like a true pioneer of that. And after that, we did a lot of psychedelic experiences with him, because after that he became a psychologist. No, so he was like always a searcher of the mind, in a way, no, for the creation of new worlds in VR, and then through psychedelic, and then through understand oneself with psychology. And together with him and another friend that is a programmer, we had this idea of this experience, VR experience, where you put on the headset and you see through the eyes of the person next to you that you are holding hands with. We developed this VR experience with Arduino stuff and GRVR, the ones that you put
The Gear VR, yeah.
Yeah, Gear VR, and you put a cell phone, no, on it, and you sit in front of a people, an unknown people, because it was like a 1 day exhibition. Unknown people, you get to sit in front of an unknown people, and the sitter gives each one of you an HMD, and when you put it on, you start to watch the reality in like this Robocop kind of resolution, because we have this little camera, this Raspberry camera here, that went to Wi-Fi and then back to the VR headset, and you see the other person and your hands, and in some moment, if the persons didn't hold hands, the sitter, the sitter of the experience, no, the people, the one that is doing he said to the participants, okay, if you want, hold hands, and when they hold hands, the visual switch, and you started to see through the eyes of the other person, but at the same time feeling yourself like having like the contact of the person. And the people was like, wow, man, what is happening? Because this is a basic psychology experiment that was already done by the Machine to Be Another. That was an experiment, I think, did on Canada, I think, or in US. And it was the main inspiration for us to do this. And after that, a 3D, a third-person view, like a weird eye view of the two persons, were like projected onto the particular view of the person. So it was like an experience from going to myself, to you, to us, no, in a way. And it was a very, very lovely experience that we did in Cordoba 2 times and in Buenos Aires. It was very good, and the reaction of the people was, for me, the first time that I truly understand the potential of the VR that my friend was aware of. But I was like, oh, I want to get a VR to start sculpting and painting. But in that moment, I understood, oh man, this is something, this can change people's minds, like alter how they perceive the world. So
just to jump in really quick, so the experience, I really like the idea, is like you go in and you basically end up seeing yourself holding your own hand as you're holding the other person's hands and feeling the hands of, you're like, oh, this person in front of me is me, and they're squeezing harder, and I'm not feeling that, but I'm giving that feeling, and it's like a weird identity loop almost.
Exactly. The experience was called alterity, no? Like the otherness, no? It's like, okay, and it was very interesting, the different reactions. Some people didn't even touch themselves. Some people started to fighting, like playing. Some people started like doing this amazing, really amazing choreography dance, but they were not dancers. They just started like, okay, touching themselves. And it was amazing. Some people even try to hug each other, and the VR headset clashed. It was pretty amazing. No, it was like, for example, this gallery woman with I don't know, 15 years of experience, like having this dance with this little girl of 30 years old. Like he was dancing, and they both were like kids for a moment. It was amazing. It was truly amazing. And at the same time, we get to have a good computer, and we buy a Vive headset, and we buy also a Oculus Rift. And after that, a third headset, yeah, no problem. But we had the tools for the first time. So after we ended the experience, I like jumped right into Oculus Medium. That was like the main thing for me. And when I started like doing that, the first time I used the Oculus Medium was like, oh man, I was like crying tears of joy, because I understood, I acknowledged that this is the dream I had when I was a child. Like I wanted to draw with line in the space, that was the same I was trying to do with the collaged 3D sculptures. Like this world I project into a 2D piece of paper now is like into a model, and that model has this presence in the space, because I did sculpture in the art university. I did sculpture. I did a lot of different types of sculpture, but I don't like the physical matter. I don't like it. It's like the things fall apart. The things are heavy.
There's water. And
Yeah.
The next day it's all dry. You can't use the clay anymore.
Totally. People think of me. Oh, you draw, you paint, so you like doing manual stuff with your hands. No, I don't fucking like even to hammer a nail on the wall. I'm completely useless, and I hit my hand, and I never had a father who teach me like technical stuff, or my family didn't even have a car. No, never. So we never. I never got this technical stuff. No, so for me, like using these computers and stuff and learning to use a 3D printer was very alien to me. In fact, after 2 years, I completely I sold my 3D printer because I say, okay, no, physical, fuck you. I don't want I don't want you in my life. I want this. And when I put the headset on, I was in this magical landscape when I worked with the thing, and I know it happened the same to you. Now it's magic.
Yeah, you can't explain how important and life-changing it is for a traditional artist to get access to a good VR computer and medium. It just goes into fulfilling an inner dream of being a magician that we've had for so long, I guess. It's just like,
yes.
If there's just a way to get more VR computers into the hands of artists, not for every one of them, but for the majority of them, it'll completely change their lives. Just like it did for you, just like it did for me, just like it did for Sebastian and so many other people.
Yes, it was. I remember this thing of the people, the Japanese people, like learning to do haiku, kanjis, like the calligraphy, Japanese calligraphy. When the pupil, the alumni, the person who is learning,
the student, yep.
The student, yeah. When the student is advanced and the teacher see that he's starting to repeat themselves, like, oh, you are having these mannerisms, okay, you're like in a loop. The master, they command the student to not do any more calligraphy for 2 years and start like doing gardening, like watering the plants. There is an art in itself, like watering the plants, like watering bonsais, for example. It's like you have to be 1 year watering before your teacher allows you to put a hand on the bonsai, no? So it's a whole different mindset, no? But I understood that this woman did with me was that, like, okay, stop fucking doing the same thing that is fulfilling your ego and start exploring different aspects of creation. So when I get my hands into VR, it was like, now I get it. Now I can do what I was able to do with ZBrush, but here. And I can paint, and I can move my hand, and I can do it from the wrist or from the shoulder, and it will it become a different gesture. No, if I dance while working, like you said in other chat, if I dance while working, it's different the reality, because by resolution you have like like you move the hand and you have these little, I don't know, pixels, no, in the space that are the result of how fast you move the hand, how high was the resolution of the layer you are working. No, so it's a particular gesture, a particular kind of gesture, and that was amazing for me. Was the first time I saw actual gesture as a result of a digital maneuver. I don't know how to say it. No, digital action. No, so it was amazing for me. It was okay. I spent like a year like working with Medium, doing this different stuff, and at the beginnings of 2019, I get to know by a friend the thing called photogrammetry, and it was like I knew that it was like 3D scanning, but I didn't have a 3D scanner. When I checked about the 3D scan, it was like a lot of money. I really, because I checked the pro digital scanners, but even the not pro digital scanners was like out of money. I wasn't able to get to them because we didn't have any more money, because after the grant we did like VR and PC and no more money. But with photogrammetry, I was able to do it, a 3D scanning, with my shitty pocket camera.
Yeah, people, you can do it with your phone.
Yes, with my phone. This is better than that.
Yeah.
My phone it's a good Sony from, I don't know, 10, 50 years ago. I don't know. But it's very good. Carl Zeiss lens or whatever. Those kind of old stuff that are very good quality. So well, this is an example of that. So I started like doing this thing of like taking pictures of myself, and I was amazed of how easy it was. Pretty easy. And I had this model of my face. That was the first thing I did. This model of my face, and it was pretty good. And it had these glitches that was the same kind of glitches that I get with 3D printing and with some gestures of VR. And it was like, this thing is for me. So I started like thinking what I want to do with this. And then the first time I did like a thing I am attached to was like this very unthinked, very spontaneous scanning of my girlfriend and a friend of her that was coming to visit us since a lot of months that we didn't saw her. So it was a very, very happy moment, like meeting with people, and we were sitting like after a meal, and it was summer, very good, and they were like, oh, we're full, we are just eat in a couch, no? They and I say, oh, let me capture you. No, we're full. No, please. And I was like, I scanned her, take some pictures, and I made them into a 3D object, and it was like with a lot of errors, no?
Right.
And at the same time, in those days, I by a video, I get to know that Medium can work with textured models, because I didn't thought it was possible. But I saw a tutorial that was doing that. So the first model I bring into the virtual space was that model of my girl and her friend. And I started like working with that and understanding, oh, I might use these errors because they are saying some things about the person. In fact, I will mint that work in the next months, I think.
Interesting.
So it was the first time I like transcend in a way the technical aspect of the 3D scanning, the photogrammetry, to convey this is a meta photo, no? A meta is a it's a recording of a particular moment in time, and it has not only that moment, but the operations I do over that moment in VR. So when I show it, like in the first days of January of 2019, I get a lot of response of people. Like people was like, "What the fuck? What I am watching," and I understand this is it. This is it, because I don't consider myself a sculptor. So the first year for me with VR was like, why I am doing this? Because I am not a sculptor. I don't enjoy like passing days and days like building this object. No, I don't. There is a lot of sculptors. I didn't like much sculptor in art university. I did like boost this, but I don't. I like to work with clay, yes, because it's like sketching in a way. But I don't consider myself as a sculptor. But with this, I was able to work days on days, like in a way, de-sculpting the figures, de-sculpting that, like I get to understand I'm drawing with the negative space, like I'm drawing a line of void in this hand, no, and I get to understand emissive materials, for example, like they are materials that are only have special information. For example, you have this ball of a flat color, but with a line over it. If you move it, you will not see shades in the ball, but you will see the line like changing with the perspective. No, so it was like pure drawing, no shadows, no lights, pure drawing in the space, and I get to understand how I can combine that kind of flat materials with these shaded materials that has the texture, so I can combine and make like the 2D of the paper, like being present and combining it with the shading, that the shading basically is giving me the result I wanted to do with oils, like
Yep.
painstakingly painting like the claroscuro, yes, the shading, the light, and
Yep.
perfect switching from this to this, and the light here, and it was, but when I was painting, I was always sitting on shoulders of giants, and I was thinking, oh, how ugly I'm painting. Oh, look at Rembrandt is looking at me from the other world saying, no, man,
Garbage.
no,
Garbage.
garbage, utterly horrible. Yeah. So with this, I was feeling like I get the Renaissance or the Baroque element, like perfect illumination, mathematically correct, but also I can work and I can do shit and I can do glitch and I can basically have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. I'm going to have to kind of interrupt you a little.
Yes,
So, two things. I'm going to give a comment, but first, I have to leave in 40 minutes to go for the show opening. And I really
yes,
want, we're going to have to continue this conversation because I know it's very interesting and people are going to want to hear this. And I know you could go on for another 2-3 hours easily.
yes,
Um,
but we get to a point, no? Those from where I started, like going back.
Yeah, we'll continue another episode of this, and I'll just say one comment, and then I need to ask you some questions about the paintings because I'm going to be
Sure,
talking about these paintings over and over and over and over today, and I really
sure.
want to grab all the information from your brain. But one thing as a painter that has also transitioned to VR is instead of spending 70% of your time trying to imitate, calculate lighting in your head, calculate shadows. You just have to, all of a sudden in VR, all that matters is creating the shapes that will create those shadows and creating the lighting environments that will create those shadows. And it's a
Exactly.
completely different shift. You don't, you think about the shapes that will create the shadows instead of faking the shadows that will insinuate the shapes.
Totally. Totally.
With that being said, let me switch over to the screen, and I've got your three main images here,
Yeah.
and I'm just very curious to ask you some questions about them.
Sure. Sure.
And it was, it was actually really great yesterday seeing them in a huge format because we see a lot of art on the internet and but seeing it like 1 or 2 meters high and multiple meters wide was just very good to go into the details.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, is there something that comes to mind when you look at this image, anything that you want to say in particular before I start asking you detailed questions about some artistic and technical aspects of it?
Yeah, I did those images. Some of the images are reworkings of digital image that was meant to be looked at in a monitor, a PC monitor, and they are reworked painstakingly again for a lot of time to for them to be shown in that size. No, they are digital stuff made to be printed, made to be complete, to be watched in this whole stuff. I bought, thanks to crypto art, I bought a PC monitor that you can go vertical, and after that way I can watch the figures more in a more large scale that is closer to a medium scale canvas. No, so I was like working with that as I was working on a canvas. Yes.
Interesting. And let me go over some of the things maybe that came out from this sculpture when I looked at it real quick. I mean, there's so many anomalies and different things that are mixed into each other. One of the questions I had when I looked at it real close is like, what is this bundle here? It looks like flowers or maybe a little bear
I
or
cannot.
something.
I am not seeing your.
Oh, you're not seeing my
Screen.
monitor?
No, no, no.
Oh, geez, this is not going to work well. How
But
can I do this?
you can send me some image in Twitter. Maybe I am next to my computer, so
Sure.
I can.
Let's do this. It's a constructive instability.
Yeah.
And the
Make a screenshot of maybe
yeah,
or something
let me
of the detail.
MacGyver this over here. Sorry for the technical hurdle, folks. I sent it to you.
Okay.
It looks like a little bear.
Yep, they are like a lot of tiny teddy bears that I don't know. Ah, yes, that particular work, constructive instability, is made entirely of. I bought an iPad some months ago, and I bought an 3D scanner for that. So I went on Sketchfab. The Sketchfab is a platform where you can like go and see a lot of different 3D models, and you can turn it around in web, and you can download some of them because some of them are free. And I put the name of my 3D scanner, and I find a free collection of 3D scanning of people from many places around the world, Japan, US, that they were doing like these parties of 3D scanning. So I had this huge collection of people like essentially having fun, and it's called Kodame. Kodame is the name that you can search for it, So, for example, I think those teddy bears was one of those models scanned, or maybe the teddy bears were scanned from another Sketchfab model, but basically they are free models found on the internet.
Okay.
No, so it's like these sessions of downloading, like checking Sketchfab and going and seeing one model after another, and downloading those who I felt connected with. No, I download this and 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 this, like a spree of like go hunting for 3D models, and after that I like open sometimes randomly the models in Medium and started like free flowing with them,
Nice.
combining one and another. Yes,
By
and those
super, yeah, by super
yes.
zooming, I see these little icons I didn't notice ever before.
Ah, yes, yes. Ah, you are seeing the digital, the file for print. That's good, because for example in the digital file for the token, the minted edition,
Mhm.
like we have this 15 megabytes limit, and you cannot see those little icons. I love those, like these little messages hidden in the middle of the. If you check this work, you will find a little icon, Spotify icon, some a distorted medium, Oculus Medium, or now Adobe Medium, because I work with different stuff. I export and I do, but I do like classic exporting from 3D programs into a render engine and something, but I also work with basic screenshotting. So maybe some parts are like this screenshot that has a piece of the Spotify that I was listening to, or the Oculus Medium link, or maybe some phrase that is in the same screenshot. And when I put it and I combine it in Photoshop, some parts of that like are like it's the same that with photogrammetry. Like it's a recollection of different things happening in a moment. And I let sometimes when I see some serendipity is like
Yep.
yeah, I see some of these casual things that happens with no reason and they look good. Okay, I leave it. So yeah, I don't know if you want to ask something about those teddy bears in particular.
Well, that's good. I also just noticed for the first time that the lady on the left has Vive controllers behind her head
Oh
and
yeah,
Vive sensors. So those are
good.
VR controllers we use for painting and sculpting in VR. It's
Yes, in fact, it was my first love with VR. The first time I walked in a place with how do you say the recognition of spatial body is the tracking. With tracking was with Vibe, and it was a very very amazing moment. Like walking in this room, like the experience we are doing in Canada now, in the gallery,
yeah.
like this thing of being in a room and walking, and also walking in the space, was with the Vibe that has a great tracking, so it felt like very real. So for me, when I saw a free model of Vibe in Sketchfab, it was like, oh, I love that. I want, and also when I put next to the figure, it gives like this feeling of, for me, like, I don't know, Evangelion or something like this,
Yeah.
cyber stuff. At first, maybe you don't realize they are Vive controllers, but if you look closely, yes, they are. So I like that. That
Yeah, it looks like
that
a mech or an anime thing.
yep,
Um,
yeah.
let's go. Let's see here. Is
For
there, I
example,
mean, oh, go ahead.
say for example, one little thing is that girl that has the Bible next to her. She has a dimple in the forehead, and I
Yes.
love I love that. I love that that dimple maybe wasn't there the day after they scanned it, but that dimple will be forever
I think
in
you
the
mean a
blockchain.
pimple.
Pimple? Ah, pimple.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think a
Dimple.
dimple, I'm not, I'm French, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's something else that's permanent. But yeah, I noticed when I zoomed in, it's like, oh, he didn't Photoshop the pimple. He kept it
No,
there, kept the
no.
imperfection.
Yep, yeah, I love that. I love it. But sorry, you was about to ask me something.
Well, I was going to ask you about that character actually. She has I mean, I know you've played with fashion and there's a kind of almost, not a techwear vibe to some of your pieces, but sometimes fashion does get into it and merges with the body. And obviously, you play with these ideas of extensions of the body. Is there something particular about what she's wearing with like around her neck, or was that just kind of randomly that it
No,
appeared
no,
so
no.
nicely?
The some of the figures there, well, the three figures there, the main figures, was selected because I liked how they dress themselves. They look, they characterize themselves. They
Mm,
put on things to, because like I was looking at like 400 different people being scanned, and most people was like standing still, but this guy was like doing this stuff with the hands. Is the guy with the head covered. He was
yeah.
doing this thing with the hands, and he had this stuff. And that girl, you asked me, she was like this ninja stuff, neck stuff, and she was like crawling in this position, and she looked like a character. And that for me was the main inspiration, because I sensed that they were like presenting a new version of themselves, no?
Yeah,
Like,
they were being
okay,
dramatic and acting and
yes, yes. And at the same time, they are not acting for someone else. They are presenting that they are themselves, that they are another thing. I
so
love that.
so
Yes.
are these people that came to your studio, or are these people that you got these 3D scans from somewhere on the internet, or?
These particular models are from Sketchfab, from Kodame, that initiative of parties of 3D scanning people around the world.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I didn't know. I wish, I hope to get to know these peoples. All the models from this are under attribution copyleft
Yeah.
um, thing. So, for example, when I minted the work, they are stated these models are from, and so I will love for them to see them there.
Oh
But
wow.
I didn't show much of the faces, or I covered, because I didn't want those to be portraits of people.
Right.
They are people.
Right. And maybe can you tell me what's happening with the figure in the middle? It seems like for me, it just reminds me of like Half-Life head crabs. Um,
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. It's true. I don't play a lot of games, but
yeah.
but that girl was the first I chose for that, because she was like playing with, I don't know what was that, like this elastic stuff that she put around the neck, and she like grabbed on with her hand, forming these forms, no, these shapes. And so I like collaged a little of those shapes, and like exploded them on some parts of. But I I am not trying to do something when I do. For example, the head of her is a backpack. Is a model of a backpack that
Okay.
is
Ah,
very. But I don't. One thing that I am working with is that I am not trying to do something. I just do.
do
I
right.
just do. I uh, I like the approach of, for example, Bacon, the painter. He says, Francis Bacon. He said, I don't want to illustrate what I'm doing, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to illustrate an idea. I discover on the go, no, on
Yeah.
the go. For me, that feels like freedom. It's like,
Right.
okay, because I did like 20 years of working like with someone that is saying to me, okay, I want to convey this idea, and I have to do it in the best. Or I worked as illustrator for myself. Like I have this idea and I have to convey it. But
Mm,
these things are not like that. These
right,
things are like discoveries on the go,
right.
and for me they feel completely different.
Nice. Um, yeah, I was going to ask you about the character on the right with the eating of the jewelry, but knowing that you got it from the internet is a little
Yes,
bit different.
yes. I that character is like the most respected, other than the cloth covering his face.
Hmm.
The rest of the model and the figures and the elements are mostly from the actor. I think he's an actor because all he did the collection have like three models of the same person, and it was like very expressive. What he I would love to reach him
Nice.
and maybe do a collaboration. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. And maybe one last question is it's a bit more technical, unfortunately, but I'm curious. I was trying to determine, what percentage of your work is done as a 3D model versus what percentage of your work is done as a 2D retouching or Photoshop to be,
Yes,
whatever.
it depends. It depends. For example, that particular work, constructive instability, is a lot of 3D, a lot of exporting the models into a render engine and build this scene with lighting and exporting a large image and overpainting it. But the overpainting of it is like, I don't know, 15% of it. But
That's what
for
I thought.
example, yes.
I,
But for
I
example,
I was like, I
so
think it's 10 to 20% overpainting and the rest is
yes,
really VR. It's the 3D
yes.
model.
But for example, the other work like viejos problemas, nuevas soluciones, like old troubles, new solutions,
Yeah.
that with the figures with the spears,
Mm-hmm.
it's like 95% overpainting because it's all from a screenshot directly from VR. I
Mm.
did this small 2K screenshot from a particular moment in VR because I exported the figures and I did the rendering of a scene, same with the other, but I didn't got the same result, the same flowness of what I was seeing in the medium scene. And with that model, I understood that I worked better with low resolution models, not perfect textures, not photographic quality textures, but if that if that was hazy, if what does that was like lo-fi, it was better for me to overpaint and like reworking and
Mm.
going for a not so photographic but more painterly approach. And that for me, with that work, Viejos Problemas was the first of this series, was like an aha moment because I was doing some stuff with photogrammetry, but it tend to get more photographical, and I didn't want that. I want more painterly stuff.
Right.
So that model is like 95% overpainting.
Interesting.
It's a lot of work, a lot
I,
like months of work. Yeah,
right. I'm looking at this model right now. I've switched over the images. When I looked at it real close, there was, I think one of the questions that came to mind is maybe what are the things on the right? Like they just seem like these remnants of technology, this kind of rusted
yeah,
industrial things, and is it like humans pushing against it, humans being brought into this current, to this river of technology, and I don't know, there's also the lance in there, I think, as a
yeah.
recurring theme, so I'm curious to know your thoughts.
Yeah, they are basically all technical objects. There are some parts of very old sewing machine that the one that my grandmother used to sew on, like
Mm-hmm.
this beautiful. That is very difficult to see where it is, and also a radiator a very rusted radiator, and that scene is I didn't knew at the moment I was doing that, but after a while I understood what was the main inspiration for that was the thing called first line, primera línea, that was the main clash force between protesters and cops, particularly or military forces in Chile. In that moment was like Hong Kong was on fire with the riots previously to COVID. Well, yep. in Chile, next to like a little some kilometers away from my home, they were like fighting, and they were like creating this new kind of society in a way to fight against institutional violence. I say because they really create like this new kind of society around this primera línea forces of people that was like chanting and throwing gas to the cops. There was people like selling stuff, giving water to the protesters, like giving food, chanting, like a guy from Chile, he said to me, it's amazing. You in the news see all the fighting, but next to the fighting, there is a whole new ecosystem of things happening. And now, for example, in this plaza, in this space where the people wasn't able even to sit because they were militarized, and there was these carabineros like saying, no, you cannot play guitar here. No, the people was leaving, and next to them was these people like receiving water from the water cannons and like peacefully protesting against major institutional violence. So that was the main inspiration for me. Although I didn't acknowledge in that moment, in the moment that I was working. So yeah, for me it's a very emotional work. Yeah.
Right. And it was interesting seeing the sculpture you just showed me, and it kind of, it seems like a recurring theme in your artwork is the lance, the spear.
The spear.
So I guess, is it part of that energy, that fight against institutionalized violence, or that penetration that creates the crack that will allow the system to fall apart?
In a way, yes. I like the thing of the spear, but if you look the spears in those works, they are you never see the point, no? The element of the spear, the knife at the end of the spear, no? You always see those spears like lines, because for me they are at the same time they are weapons, but at the same time they are a pure graphic element, no? So that is the balance I try to work. Things that look like from this reality, from this physical reality, but they belong also to this other reality, this mental, this reality of ideas, no? This point repeated forms a line, and that line can be a spear, no? Is that for me.
Right. Very nice. Unless there's anything else you want to say about this piece, I think I'll skip to the third one.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just escape here 1 second. So the third one is rescatarse.
Rescatarse. Yeah, that word is yes, it's pretty similar to Spanish. Rescatarse is it's a term of slang here. Rescátate, guacho. It's like rescue yourself, man. It's like if you're doing some bad things, rescue yourself. No, yes, like risk. But also it can mean like I get to understand something. I rescue myself because I know now something that I didn't know. And for me, it was like literally rescuing oneself in the middle of this pandemic and this mental health global trial we are having. No,
Right.
it's like I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I was talking to her. She told me that she was over like ending a severe eating disorder problem that was more acute in the middle of the pandemic. And like a lot of people I know, like here we are still heavily on the pandemic side, and I saw a lot of people like going to the bottom of themselves and going back from it, like the phoenix, and they are like new ones. No, so for me it's like it's the more narrative work in a way, because it is about that. The other works, they talk about more things, and for me this is like an ode to the act of rescuing oneself in the middle of this fucking pandemic. Like this, we are like in an artistic residence with ourselves. No, we are like
I mean, it is a great artistic residence. You get to stay home for a year.
Yeah. You have to stay with yourself, and okay, deal with it, man. Deal with it. It's like, so for that work, I have this model in my home. I hired a friend and model, and I worked with her. And that this work is the most planned of all. I didn't know exactly what I want to do, but I know that some clothes, this jacket designed by a close friend of mine, that that have his own designs over it, and his mother built the jacket, so it's a pretty artisanal object. I wanted that. I want those Adidas sweatpants, because pants, I don't know, because I like the how they shine, and how and again the line. I love the line. And I say to both of them, okay, let's meet in my house and let's do 3D scanning. And so it was like a free flow improvisation session. I did a lot of different scannings of Celeste, that is the girl. And after that, I did I put my PC monitor, and started like doing with acrylic these brushes, abstract brushes, but like trying to go with the same flow of elements and the colors. And then I scanned some of them, and they are mixed with all the work. It's the most painterly work in a way, and it's the most analog and digital work at the same time. They are combined.
For this one, I'm curious too, like what percentage of the work is a 3D model versus what percentage of the work is a overpainting?
Is it that one? It's like in the middle of the other two.
I had a feeling it was 50-50.
Yeah, I think it's 60 3D, 40 overpaint.
Nice.
But yeah, no, maybe it's 50-50. Let's say 50-50. Yes.
Well,
yes.
No worries. So you said there was two models. Are they both wearing the same thing?
No, different. I did different scannings of the same person. Okay. But I was also working with the friend that was wearing the jacket, that created the jacket. He was like helping me with abstract stuff, like throwing a piece of cloth here and there, and like putting a thing around her, and like a assistant in a way. But I feel like they are not my assistants. I worked with them. No, right. The work is a little of them also.
Right.
So one thing I might add that is that this works is like they come from crypto, from the constructive instability. Is a thing we may talk deeply later, but the main core of this for me, and that thing I get to understand like a few days ago, the main thing about all these works is the possibility of people to become other versions of themselves. No, so Celeste, the girl, she's a very shy person, but when she becomes the model, she becomes the powerful woman having the spear of one of my works, or she becomes this I don't know, character that looks like from a comic, or the people in Chile, they are doing this stuff, or we as artists with crypto are having the possibility of reinventing ourselves. No, and okay, I can build, actually for the first time in history, I can build my career in the way that I want, no, that I really want, no,
Rules that we understand generally.
yes, without having to rely necessarily on institutions or on other people, you know. So for me, these works are the Viejo Problemas is earlier, and Constructive Instability is done with the crypto art world in mind, because it was done like in the end of the last year. It was started 3 months after I entered the space, the crypto art space. The first 2 months for me was like crazy, fucking crazy, like when Neo entered in the machine and she said, I know Kung Fu. Well, it was like that, but I didn't know crypto art. I was like,
it was like the Matrix with Ethereum and gas fees.
yes, totally. So that model was the first work I did after I entered crypto, because the previous ones minted was works that I had earlier. So this was the first one I did with crypto, the crypto world, the crypto possibilities in my mind.
Nice.
No, so constructive instability is a term that means a lot of things. We can chat in another time about that, but it has a lot to do with the instability, the glitches in the system that the crypto art is, in a way, no, the possibility of glitching the common ways, the normalized ways of doing things,
right,
to let us have the possibility of new ways of living, no?
And so it's interesting because there's kind of two common themes in here. There's both the COVID crisis and crypto. When I look at this, I almost see a chart. You know, I see the beginning, it falls, and then there's kind of like a regaining stability, and then the character in the middle starts pointing upwards and saying, I'm okay now, I'm going to start rising. But at the same time, in the last frames, there's both a fall and an erasure of a rise. And it's almost like, oh, is this the crypto market going up and down? I mean, like there's the fact that we kind of all crashed with COVID, and then we became stronger as we came out. I'm not sure if you have anything to say around those kinds of topics.
It's Argentina is a constructive instability.
Yep.
I have 42 years old. Since in my lifetime, I had 3 major economic breakdowns, and one 3 days police. I don't know how to say paro. It's like
occupation.
Like the police said, we don't work anymore.
Oh, they just stopped working.
Yes.
Okay.
So, like the money we have, it's always the inflation is always rising, and at the same time, this country is beautiful. There is a lot of understanding how to overcome things, terrible things like the military cops. no, terrible things that are the social self is still scarred with these things happening 15 years ago, but as a society we build a strong feeling of, okay, if we join, we can overcome things and we can change things. For example, last year, abortion laws were, after 4 years of work, of trying to, we have legal abortion rights here in Argentina. And in fact, the VR sculpture is made, the figure in the VR sculpture that we didn't talk yet, but the figure in that VR sculpture is made based on a portrait of a photo of a girl during one of those manifestations against the criminalization of abortion. So
in Old Problems, New Solutions?
no, in the face of the VR sculpture model, no, that we didn't talk yet.
Okay. Oh, okay. The piece that's in VR, that's in the
Yeah.
installation. Yes.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say is that most of the works, all the works there has they are playing without any specific end, but they come from basically an emotional experience, like seeing the protests in Chile, like seeing the possibilities of crypto art in transformation, like seeing the look of that girl, like nearly crying, and at the same time completely emotional and completely prideful of what they are achieving, because they were like this tumultuous time of the Me Too movement, and here is Ni Una Menos, and also the abortion rights. No, so this is this empowering of the female force that is beautiful to see, that is very inspirational. So all this, while it's very technical, the core of it always it's an emotional, human, close experience by me.
Yeah.
No?
And that's what I really feel about your work is the technology is not invisible, but it's definitely not at the forefront. At the forefront is a mastery of emotions and lighting and color and composition, and you get lost into it. So that's what I always appreciate about this.
I will not say mastery, but an exercise of those.
Well, wait till
those
you're 95 to say mastery.
yes. Maybe I will say, okay. Some 2 or 3 works will be good, maybe.
Well, I mean, we're looking at the path, at the journey of a master. Let's just put it that way.
It's a journey, yes, and this thing of constructive instability is the thing you said. It's like the figure is rising, but at the same time is falling. No, is both. It's, you are here, you are there.
Yes, I'm back.
Okay. So no, it's like both states of self at the same time. No, it's like that, like happy and sad, violent and stable, no, at the same time, coexisting in a way.
This
Because
tension.
I feel that my country is we get used to live in a constructive instability, but we construct here, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And I think it's the same with the crypto movement and the fights of the countries for gathering more freedoms, no, civil freedoms. So yes, the whole thing now is a constructive instability in a way. The whole world.
I think this is probably a great place to end this conversation.
Yes.
let's continue it in another time. I'm going to have to run to the gallery. The opening is in an hour, so I'm going to have to bike there. And, I haven't eaten
Well,
yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to eat today before 5 p.m. Um,
yes.
we'll see. And,
Let me say that the I think I am exhausted and extremely happy at the same. Speaking of this instability thing, I'm both, because one thing I really loved about this process is that gallery and you always keep pushing me to go farther, to go bigger, to explore. So we ending things yesterday. We end you going into your bike for the opening at the last very moment. It infused the work and the whole experience with the alive energy that is very different from other exhibitions I participated, no, where you had this box, you put a thing, and you deliver the uh, this dead, this frozen artwork. But this felt completely different. This felt like a live process, no,
nice.
unfurling. Yeah.
I think it's artist to artist is what it is.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I
Totally.
also hate the institutions and oh, fill out these forms and send me the images 3 months before the show and
Yeah. Yes.
systems. We're just
Yes.
chaotic people.
Yeah. We get gathered by the wind. And yes, yes, yes. So I'm very, no, I'm extremely. I, I waited all my life for a thing like this. No, for crypto, for VR, for this exhibition in other country, for some person like getting to me like you without knowing me, just for the power of the art. No, that for me is the thing I was aiming to my whole life. So it's
We're
it's
so
beautiful.
happy to present your work. I'm not sure if I don't think I've told you this yet. I may have written it on Twitter and Instagram or whatever, but so we set up late last night and the gallery closes at 7 and there was just a few people that got to try. There was even a couple that was looking at your painting outside after we were closed and the Real said, "Hey Sam, should we show them the VR? Do you think is it ready?" And he unlocked the door, let them in, and they tried it. And so 6 people tried your experience yesterday. There was one thing that was constant. Every single one of them said, "Wow." Every single one of them immediately, without prompting, every single one of them said, "Wow." So I'm so excited to show your work today. People are stopping in the streets to look in the window. People are really, really, you know, staring at these pieces. And then I can't wait to see the reaction. It's very different from what we've been showing, and I'm like vibrating with energy to go to the gallery, and it's going to be
Yeah.
exhausting, and it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be cathartic.
Yes, I saw, like, in retrospective, we are working with this like in the past 6 months. Me at least was like, okay, working, and the last 2 months was like completely like focusing into this for the first time in my life. So it's very powerful, and well, I hope that they are saying wow and they are not saying wow, what a shit.
You can see their
Wow.
face. Like, I want to get photos of that, but I was just holding the wire so they don't trip.
Okay, 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 Samuel. So I think that this is it. I don't
This
know.
is it. Great. Well, thank you
Okay,
so
man.
much for everything. We'll keep in touch, obviously, and we'll have a follow up within a week or two or something. And
Yes,
thanks again. I'm going to chug some coffee and bike to the gallery, and I'll
yes,
see you very
please,
soon.
please.
Oh,
You need energy for all of this to come.
perfect. All right, cheers.
Okay,
And
okay.